Another Wednesday, another one of getting together and sharpening one another. Gentlemen, how are we doing? Are we all good?
All good, all good, all good.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you much. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking out the time. Thank you so much for jumping on. Today, we're going to have another interesting conversation, and I'm really looking forward to it. Because we are going to touch on a subject that obviously, well, our intention is always to touch on a subject that affects each and every one of us. And this evening, we are going to talk about habits. We are going to
Ooh.
talk about habits, and I see a bit of a grinch in the gentleman's faces. So I'm wondering, oh, and you know what? Just was thinking about it because when you hear the word habits, yeah, it's the first thing that comes into your head. You're thinking bad habits, isn't it? We mainly think bad habits, but I think we're gonna have to slaughter that cow today because I think it goes both ways. It's both good habits and bad habits.
Mm.
And I'm convinced that we are a product of our habits. We
Yeah.
are where we are today. We are the kind of person that we are in our life where we are today because of the habits that we embark on a daily basis. Because the things that you and I do um, on a continuous basis every single day over a period of time, that's what we become.
Mm.
And I think, I don't know whether you agree with me, but I thought that would be my intro. So I thought, let's go straight into it because uh, uh, obviously all of us, we on a different way of thinking when it comes to you might be thinking, Kendrick, I am not a product of my habits. I know exactly what I've done to over the years to get to where I am, and that was not even a habit. No, if you really pay close attention, uh, just think about it. There are things that you and I even do on a daily basis. We don't even pay attention to it, and we think we just ended up where we are today. No, it's because of the stuff that we've done, both consciously and subconsciously, um, and that's where we are today. So I want us to break that one down and just see what we can learn what from one another, and what nuggets can come out from this one. But uh, any thoughts? Any thoughts from your side, gentlemen?
I'll let Chidozi go first.
Okay, let me put it like this. Okay, you're breaking up on your sound, sir. I forgot to mention to you earlier.
Yeah.
You're cutting in and out. You're
Can
cutting in and out.
is it
Yeah.
better?
No. Can you go out and then come back in again, please?
Okay.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
So,
Um,
so just what I noticed last week, or if he's using an iPhone,
mm,
if he swipes from the top corner, top right corner of the phone, he should be able to see a bunch of settings. And if it doesn't say mic, the standard setting, then
mm.
you get choppy.
Oh, that's what happened to you last week,
So
isn't it?
last week when I came in and out 4 or 5 times,
Yeah, yeah.
when I checked that setting, it just said standard. Boom, I'm good to go.
Okay.
So
Do
when
you
he
wanna?
comes back,
If you get, are you able to drop him a text just to
no, because I'm using the phone.
you on your phone? All right, we'll wait for him to get back on again. Um, but let me kind of like just like set kind of
Yes,
like a foundation that we can build on
yes.
regarding habits. Well, one of the first things obviously that I've mentioned is that we are where we are because of our habits. That's what I believe.
Hmm.
Maybe you believe something different, but I think um, maybe my brother would say, no, I am where I am today because of what Christ has done for me. Absolutely. But I believe, we're gonna slaughter that one today, son.
He's
Welcome back,
back.
sir.
Yes.
Um,
Right.
just a quick technical. Can we check how you're sounding quickly?
Hello. Hello. Can you hear me? Is it good?
Perfect. You
All
sound
right.
much better. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think this thing requires full battery or something, and it doesn't say it anywhere. So I've gone and I've started charging my phone, and that's so. Apologies, guys, for that.
no,
in transmission. It was not planned. It was not deliberate. But
No worry, no
here
worry.
we
It's
are.
good, my friend.
It's all good. Um, yes, I was just saying that I'm just going, instead of just throwing it out there, let me just put a little foundation that we can build on that. So I was just mentioning to Clinton and obviously to the rest of the guys that I believe that we are where we are today, like I said previously, because of our habits, because of what we do on a day-to-day basis. Whether we do it consciously or unconsciously, we are where we are because of our daily habits, and that means that life does not happen by accident. Um, so if I want to kind of like ask myself, all right, how did I end up here? I need to backtrack and see what I've been doing over the years, what I've been doing over the months, what am I doing every single day, and I might be able to track down. All right, it's because I've been doing this thing on a continuous basis. That's why I am where I am today in this specific area. Now, uh, maybe the question that I can pose to all of us: have you actually paused? Can you actually, if you have to tell us, some of your habits that you embark on a daily basis, will you be able to identify them? Will you be able to say, this is what I do every single day because this is what I'm working on? uh, because it's not even so much, sometimes we get into we're chasing a goal, or we're chasing some kind of a final outcome, um, and then one of the things that we look at is, for example, I need to be disciplined in a specific area so that I can get my desired outcome. But when we talk about discipline, sometimes it feels like it sounds very it sounds like a hard, tough thing, isn't it? Because discipline is something that it's like hard on the flesh. But now, if you put discipline and you put habits next to each other, um, it's almost like habits are easier, because I do things without even thinking about it, isn't it? I do think, and it is effortless because I'm doing it out of it being a habit. But now, if I'm going to the flip side of that, and I say I'm doing thing because I'm disciplined, it's like the first image that comes into your head is like military, isn't it? It's like I do it. I don't, whether I feel like it or not, this thing needs to be done today. Even if I have to go and cry after I've finished that, no, it needs to be done. And I think if you put the two next to each other, which one do you think will actually bring us to I don't know, this is just a question I want to put out there to you guys. If we look at discipline and we look at habits and we put it next to each other, um, how would you guys measure them up? And we lost him. All right, he's coming back. Any thoughts on that, Mr. Richie? Any thoughts?
Yeah, sure. I was going to give him first jump because he said he's only going to be here for the first 30 minutes. But anyway, you see, you're going to put the two of them next to each other and they're cousins. So I'm trying to.
I know.
This is a serious game of not even check. Okay, so both good and bad side of the coin. I think you're right. The habits, I can't put them side by side.
Okay.
I have to put them very different because habits require discipline. Whether you want to have
okay. Yeah, you're right. Okay, let's have that conversation. Let's just zoom into that now. You said that habits require discipline.
Yes. So you can practice discipline subconsciously.
Okay.
So, for example, eating, a habit, yeah. But how you eat, you get it.
Yes.
So you have a habit now of. But somebody said to you, dude, that just you can't go to dinner the queen invite you to dinner, dude,
That's
you
a
better start practicing a year in advance.
that's a bad habit. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So that's where you have now. So that was a discipline that you applied,
Mm.
because then you go too deep now of the types of disciplines that they are,
Mm.
which they
Mm.
are.
Ah, let's go for it. Go for it.
And then practically, so you are applying a discipline to a habit, and that shapes the habit in the direction where you want that habit to go. So I see a habit like a mold, and the
Mm.
discipline as the hands. And basically that will shape it. So like I said, the example about eating, yang, 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 you realize now I need to work on this. So you apply the discipline to eat properly. So number one, it was the doctor who said to you that you're having stomach problems because you're not
Mm.
eating properly.
Okay.
Then it was your friend that sits next to you and turned and said, you know, I don't think I could tolerate the what is noise measured by? Oct something? What is noise measured by? Sound.
Hurts. No.
Anyway, the point is,
Yeah.
the sound of your eating
Yes, sir.
is a bit higher than normal, right?
Yes, sir.
That's where I'm coming from.
Mm.
So you now practice a discipline. So you have a discipline that you've applied to this habit of eating, so that eating is done better.
Mm.
And the reason why I struggle to put habit next to discipline, and not and versus um, discipline surrounding the habit. So the discipline, in my view, keeps the habit in check into which direction it needs to go. They're not friends.
Uh, okay. All right. I hear you, but my head is kind of like going like this. Now, I don't even want us to go too deep. Yeah. Because from what I understand, you are saying is, I don't think there's so much. It's not so much to say what's wrong and what's right. I'm just want us to bring a bit of clarity. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
From what I understand, what you're saying is, uh, for me to practice or exercise a habit, I need to be disciplined. Yeah.
You need to apply some level of discipline.
Some level of discipline.
Yes.
But now, for example, I'm thinking. For example, I'm thinking about me, the way I drive a car.
There you go. Right.
Yeah. The way I drive a car, I feel I don't need to apply discipline to drive a car a certain way. I just jump in and I just drive it, and I have a certain way of driving it out of habit. Yeah. Now the way I'm seeing it now, the part where discipline comes in is if I want to change a habit. Because if I've been doing something a specific way day in and day out, and suddenly I realize, oh my goodness, if I continue to do this, oh, the way I'm doing it now is going to take me in the wrong direction. It's going to kill me going forward. So now I have to make a decision. All right, what do I want to change about this? Obviously we're talking about a bad habit.
Mm-hmm.
What do I want to change about this bad habit?
Mm-hmm.
So which means, all right, the way I'm driving, I'm looking, instead of looking in front of me, I'm looking out of, looking at all the buildings and everybody that's a bad habit. Kendrick, you need to stop that. Okay. Now, what is a discipline that I need to apply? That's what I need to ask myself. Now, what is a discipline that I need to apply to make sure that I keep focusing on the road? I don't know whether that's an appropriate illustration, but I think if we want to make a clear distinction between a habit and discipline, the way I'm seeing it, and the way I think you explaining it is, habit is there, and habit you don't even think about habit. Habit, you just do whatever it is that you are doing without even thinking about it, without even breaking a sweat, because you just do it. But now if you realize it's a wrong habit and I want to change it, I need to find out what is the disciplines that I need to implement for me to
in the
change that habit.
in the context of this,
Yes, sir.
in the context of this conversation,
Uh-huh.
and for simplicity and extreme and clarity, I 100% agree with you.
Yes, sir.
Outside of the conversation, I wouldn't. No. Here, the bit I will say.
Mhm.
So the habit is the thing that you have practiced more than once and it became repetitive.
Mhm.
And then you realize that it may not be serving the intended purpose properly. So, for
Mm.
example, like the one you used about driving, or we can use an example like riding a bicycle.
Mm.
Or, for example, here's one. So, at some point, if we don't sit properly, you end up with a curved back,
Mhm.
a curved spine. Okay. So, we all sitting, we
Straight
all,
enough.
we all sitting. So, you sit down. Let's say it's the first time in your life you sat down,
Mhm.
but then continuously you crouch
Mm.
ridiculously bad.
Mhm.
Right there, step one, first time you crouch. Second time, you go somewhere else, you crouch. Habit.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
repetitive now.
Yeah.
Now, so in the context of what you're saying, this is bad. You've realized it's a bad habit. Now you need to break it. So to apply change, you're saying you add discipline.
Mhm.
So in the context of that, you add discipline. Yes. This is interesting purely from the point of, is it usually that straightforward? Most times, no. Is it actually a straightforward process? Yes.
Mm.
So there's a level of mental discipline that probably needs to be applied, in my view,
Yeah.
in order to overcome any habit that you may deem not serving the correct purpose. You see what I mean?
Mm. Mm.
And when I say not, sometimes you're doing things you're not conscious that it's a bad habit. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
for a guy who accustoms just swearing, he sees that's normal life.
Yeah. Yeah.
he just has
Yeah.
additional words.
Mm.
For another guy, he's like, no. And then when he goes to apply for a job and he starts to write a report, he adds in those words and they realize you don't actually need to say that. That's not part of that. So then he needs to apply in this context the discipline. Quite interesting way of putting it together. I never thought of it that way, but you made me think.
Awesome. What are your thoughts, Mr. Cheeto?
Yeah. After the series of technical ups and downs tonight, I know that the whole idea is that I don't speak in the end, but I shall speak. You know. I shall.
Go for it, sir.
Anyway, so that's this is how I would look at it. Um, when we talk about habit is a tool. It's a
Mhm.
tool to achieve something. Now, if I draw it as a map, you and I, we are at certain stages in our lives. When we become conscious of habits and its impact, there would have been something that triggered that. And it's mostly the fact that we are not traveling in the direction that we think or we want our lives to travel.
Mm. Mm.
Now you're at the point of transformation. And for any transformation, for any growth to happen, there will be need to change habits.
Yeah.
Because a habit is a collection of all the things that we do that make up who we are, who
Yeah.
we become
Mm-hmm.
in our lives. And for us to change and become something else, we now have to pause and think about those habits, those things that we do, how we approach things, how we think, what we do, how our day is set up, and so
Mm.
on and so forth, and begin to, strip bare everything that is, that occupies our day in order to identify, how we can reconstruct our lives, reconstruct our days to become more productive. Now, that's always a trigger. For me, that's always a trigger. That's what brings us to the consciousness of habits. Now, for you to even think of changing habits, for you to even consider thinking about habits, that's a moment of self-discipline. You
Mm-hmm.
are calling yourself to order and saying, "Come on, Chidozi, it's not right. The way your life is going, you've been doing this for how long? What changes have you put in place?" That's self-discipline. You're calling yourself back, and it's going to take the same discipline
Mm-hmm.
to now execute whatever your resolve is. Resolve is in form of habit, what you are now going to start doing. Like Clinton was talking about earlier, how I eat.
Mm-hmm.
If I have to change it, I have to come to that resolution that, look, this doesn't work. I have got to change my tact. Now, what helps me to call myself back to order is that discipline, that moment of taking back who we are and saying, look, this is who I am. Because that at that point that you're calling yourself back, you're reminding yourself of who you are, what your mission is, and where you are right now in
Mm-hmm.
comparison to where you think that you need to be. That's what you do to a child or to somebody who is missed their way. And we
Mm-hmm.
all ought to be doing that for ourselves
Mm-hmm.
every single day. Now, when you find yourself in that space, you now think about the things that you can do differently. When you think about those things you can do differently, it will now take that same decision to say, listen, you've called yourself back. You've told yourself that it is necessary that you begin to pursue what it is that you're looking to achieve in your life, and that now is the time. That it is the discipline that helps you not to waver, because now, the easy things are always very attractive. Bad habits, they are always very, very attractive. You don't even need to put in any effort. But if you have that discipline and you have your eyes focused on that big goal, and you're saying to yourself, this is why I need to go there. This is why I need to change the way I'm doing things, the way I'm thinking, the way I'm spending, the way I'm eating, because there's a bigger goal that's out there. It takes
That's it.
discipline to keep your eyes on one thing.
Yeah.
And if you don't have it, then you will not be able to sustain the habit. You will not be able to call yourself who you are. Because, trust me, we all know who we are. We all know who we are, even though the manifestation is not there. We have not really 100% manifested. We know what's been put inside us. And we continue to look for those, opportunities to hide it and live one more day and have one excuse or the other. But discipline is what helps us to now say to ourselves, enough is enough. I'm supposed to be playing this game at 90%. I have been playing at 25% comfortably. And these are the reasons that I've been playing at 25%. And because I now know the reason, I will put in some time to discover what it will take for me to go to 90%. That is what I am destined to go to. And that's how I see all these things hanging together. If there is no cause, if there is no focus, if there is no goal that you're working towards, then, why would you even think of changing your habits? And if you don't have discipline, how are you going to sustain the
Yeah.
change in that habit?
That's good. That's good. And now that, all right, guys. Thank you so much, gentlemen. So that was the conclusion for the evening. I think we can go home now. Oh man, that was super. That was
Yes.
some serious gold nuggets. And I really like the way that you actually bring it back to whether we like it or not. It brings it back to growth, because there's something that you just mentioned while you were talking, and it kind of like took my thinking back to the law of reflection. We don't pause enough to actually ask ourselves some tough questions, to ask ourselves, all right, this is where I am right now, but am I actually heading in the right direction? Because obviously our life, it has different areas. Am I aware of the habits that I applying to the area of finances? So do I even know what am I, my because I think habits in itself is just a way of how I think, because I I execute certain behaviors based on my thinking. Because if I have a certain thinking, okay, this is how I think about money. I don't even know why I think about money in a certain way, but now I create a habit around that based on my thinking. So I have to pull myself back on a on a regular basis to ask myself, okay, Kendrick, why are you thinking about money in this way? And then ask myself, okay, what are the habits? My, whether it's spending habits, whether it is money making habits, whether it's uh, giving habits. Where am I? And I think if we fail to do that, if we fail to reflect, then it we will just go around in a circle, and we will just live a life without purpose. We can even mention the same thing when it comes to our health. You get into a habit of maybe drinking coffee.
Sip, sip.
But if you ask yourself, Kendrick, why do you drink this coffee? You know the coffee is not good for you, but why do you drink it? It's a habit. Now you want to rather drink water, like certain people. But just think about it. But it might come through as
Oh,
humor,
even
but
not.
we
Oh,
know
even,
it's you. We know somebody's preaching
oh,
to
even not.
themselves. Isn't it? But I think a change really starts when I ask myself the tough questions, and because if I reflect and I realize, okay, this thing that you're doing is not right, but why are you doing it? I'm doing it out of habit. It's not even so. And sometimes certain habits are harder to break than others. And sometimes you just need to be in the right environment, and somebody will give you a kick up the backside and say, all right, stop that. You know why you need to stop that? Because A, B, C, D. Because now that's where accountability comes in. Because if you and I, if we are going somewhere, a great place to be is to be in a circle where you are held accountable.
Mm.
But if I feel like I live a free life, I can do whatever I like or whatever I want because I'm a free man. Well, I go down the wrong road as a free man, and I'll find myself, you end up not living, you're not living out your potential. You're not gonna live a long life to see your children's children. Why? Because of bad habits. And that's the thing that we want to like tackle. Say, all right, what's kind of like the thing that you and I, when we leave from here, the question we need to ask ourselves, because I think um, there are some practical things that you and I can do, once we actually leave from here, or even the gentlemen, once you finish watching this, ask yourself, go and take inventory. What are the things that you embark on on a daily basis that you know already? Is nobody even need to tell you? You and I know already. Like, if I continue not going for a walk or a run at least once or twice a week, I
Ouch.
will be like, you get out
Ouch.
of the chair and you hear your body will start speaking to you.
Yeah,
And,
no.
it's not like it's a mystery. It's just I have a bad habit of not exercising. I have a bad habit of not dealing right with my relationships. I have a bad habit of not doing right with my money, or whatever the case might be. So we got in this area, I believe. Okay, let me speak for myself. I got some work to do. I don't want to speak for you.
Perhaps
I don't want to speak for you.
I will join back, but without the video because I'll be driving.
Okay, sir. No worries. All right.
Going to
Jump on anytime. All
go.
right.
I was going to say, Kendrick,
Yes, sir.
that at least you wouldn't do like me when if you go to Tesco or one of these supermarkets to shop,
Mhm.
and you're hearing an extra squeak squeak, but you blaming it on the trolley's wheels, but it's beneath.
And it's not the trolley. It's like where's the sound coming from? But it's kind of like the knees,
But
or
then
maybe it's
if
the
other
hips or
people
something.
begin to look, you'd be like, oh, every time I come here, this trolley is always a bit noisy, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now these things, I think it's something that these are the kind of conversations we need to have, because I think um, if we don't have that kind of accountability, we say, all right, Clinton, do you exercise? And when I ask you the question, then you kind of like, no, I'm not asking you to get stuck up. I'm just asking you, do you exercise? Because now you understand, because there are certain
but
things that we know we need to do, but we don't do it.
but here's the deal.
Yes, sir.
Here's the deal. majority of us, you see,
Mhm.
what I've found, if your brain, excuse me,
Mhm.
is geared towards growth,
Mhm.
you will begin to go on the path of being honest with those
Yeah.
questions.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if your brain is not geared towards growth,
Mhm.
and I
Mhm.
mean serious growth, um, you will not be honest with that question. You will tend to answer that question based on an average.
Yeah.
So you check to see what your friend's doing and what this so person might say and that
Mm.
person might say, and you give an answer that sort of satisfies the status quo. And the challenge with that, it's of absolutely no benefit to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So unless you are, and this is where a conversation between a younger guy,
Mhm.
because obviously it's a men's group,
Yeah.
um, a younger guy, a middle-aged guy, and an older guy
Yeah.
begins to sound as though it's all sectioned off.
Mhm.
Because the younger guys, some of them are not really bothered, because I'm talking about my younger self.
Mm. Mm.
You're not bothered about whether you get the question right or wrong, to be honest. I'm just not bothered about that right now. My head is
Mm.
not in that space.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
middle aged guy is actually like, went for my MOT,
Yeah. Yeah.
and every time go there, the man tell me about walking. Listen, I better do something about it. Then your tummy start getting big and your knees start creaking, and then it shows up. You have to do this.
Mm.
You
Mm.
struggle to have a great day if you don't do certain things, you
Yeah.
exercise, etc.
Yeah.
And then the older guy, the same thing. So the interesting part here is, number one, I think you definitely need to have some level of accountability going for you,
Yeah.
whether you're good at holding yourself accountable or
Mhm.
whether you have that sort of support system that holds you accountable.
Mhm.
So that could be a friend, it could be a wife, it could be a child, it could
Yeah.
be, yeah. And the second thing is that you are ready to deal, to handle the results from that accountability setup.
Mhm. Mhm.
And when I say you're ready to be true to yourself.
Yeah.
Because some of us, the results of the accountability will say, well, you need to stop stooping after every sentence.
Mm. Mm.
And you're like, I don't, and you literally just,
Mm.
I don't stoop. You just did it. But
Mm.
you don't want to. So you, number one, you got to have that accountability. Number two, I would say you have to be ready to deal with the results of it. So accept it and
Yeah.
then be ready to do something about it.
Mhm.
And then after that, just do something about it.
Yeah.
But if you're not at that stage, which in all encompasses growth,
Yeah.
because you as a person develop and then everybody around you experience and enjoy the results of that growth.
Mhm. Mhm.
But if you're not, you will struggle.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
will find, like what you said earlier, and I think Chidosi touched on it, you'll just be going around in circles.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it basically come. I think this evening session is not so much about just pushing out information on there, because I think this is very practical. I think
Yes.
it's kind of like bringing us back to, all right, what decision should I make this evening?
Mm.
uh,
Yes.
because I think this is a session that where I have to ask myself, have I been lying to myself? Because obviously, if you think about it, there's if we have to break our if I have to look at my life and I have to break it into different areas, and I ask myself, in my health, am I exercising good habits towards my health? I need to ask myself honestly that today, this evening.
Mm.
I have to ask myself in the area of my relationships, whether it's with my children, whether it's with my wife, whether it's with my friends. Am I exercising good habits
Mm.
to maintain those relationships? When it comes to my business, I have to ask myself, Am I maintaining good habits to make sure that my business is moving in the right direction? You see, because we can kind of like, it can be just be another Wednesday. We have a good time. We can kind of like, but I think we kind of like reach uh, a point here where this is where we need to pause.
Mhm.
And I think we don't even need to talk about anything else. We need to pause here and say, all right, what are we going to do about our health? Because
Let
the
me
thing
just.
is, we are not going to grow old enough to be able to see our children's children. We can have
I,
all the conversation we want.
mm,
You, if I don't take care of my money, if I don't build great habits around my money, I will not be able to take care of whoever or I need to take care of in the time when I'm not
well, you
able to
won't be
work
able to
anymore.
take care of yourself, much
Yeah,
less anybody else.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. There's something I'm going to throw in here that
Yes, sir.
keeps coming up in my head. So your habits and your life is like the credit report.
Mm,
You tell somebody, if you're gonna go for a house, if you're gonna do any serious or any level of credit stuff, you should be keeping an eye on your credit report.
mm,
So the first stage is to figure out what does your credit report say,
mm,
and then the second stage is to figure out what you need to work on.
yeah.
Majority of people, a higher percent of people, will actually say, "I don't need to look at it. It's bad." Okay, well, how bad? What do you
Yeah,
need to do?
yeah.
Don't listen. Don't bother my head about that. Okay, it's just bad.
Mm,
I I don't need to look at it. It will get better.
mm,
So
mm,
there, you are not uh, working with any level of accountability.
mm,
You're not willing to accept it. You're not ready. Versus a person who says, "Okay, look, I've been putting this thing off. I've been procrastinating about it. Let me see where I stand." Bring it back to the context of this
mm,
conversation. Like you said, you take stock.
mm,
You take continuous stock of yourself to make sure that you're going in the right. This is why it's so important to write down your goals.
mm,
So that as you take stock, you can see if your habits is helping you in that right direction to hit those goals.
mm,
The example you gave is your health.
mm,
All of us, it's imperative we pay attention to what we eat. Yeah. One issue that I've had all of my life, and I can share it, I'm fine with sharing it,
mm,
is people used to always say to me, "You so skinny, it's not funny. Do you eat?"
mm.
What? And then when these people see me, they want to feed me a ton of stuff, and I'm thinking, "Oi, chill." Now,
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. Leave me alone.
and when people say that, I used to get very offended and very defensive.
Mm,
What they didn't know, I just don't like meat. I am
mm,
not a fan of meat. I eat fish
mm,
and certain types of fish where I can just enjoy it. But don't give me fish with bones. I'll turn up my face.
mm,
I wouldn't
mm,
eat it. Now, here's the difference. The guy who is eating like crazy and he's well built. The challenge is he's consumed so much meat, consumed so much other stuff. And now
mm,
he's at a certain age and some of these things is working against him.
mm,
And we go down the road of what we spoke about a couple of weeks back of the comparison.
mm,
Well,
mm,
you telling me what is my habits so that I can hit my goal. What about you, the Mr. Perfect, that did all this stuff? That is still not taking the accountability or responsibility for your
mm,
growth. So you got to take responsibility here. Choose an area. I think a big area, like you said, and I want to echo it clearly, is health. And I think by the end of this conversation, all of us watching here, I think we should have this conscious thing to say, you know what, look, if we know that at least 4 times a week, yeah, don't let's do it just one. 4 times a week, we're gonna do some walking. Guess what? It does not always have to be outdoors. Do outdoors at least once or twice. But do you know that you can walk up and down the stairs, up and down the stairs, and that is some serious exercise. That's cardio and a whole lot of other stuff. Come back 2 weeks later, if that long, and I guarantee you the difference. Hydrate yourself, eat some fruits. Yeah, not too much sugary fruits, balance it. So lots of water. Do the exercise. Make sure you bathe when you're done. But it's
Oh man. Uh, a- and I like how you kind of like just breaking that, because it's not even so much that we don't know what to do.
Mm.
It's just that we just don't do it.
And we don't want to accept sometimes
Yeah.
that
We-
that is the way to go. We just want to
Yeah.
blank it out and but
Yeah.
still hope to get there.
Yeah. Yeah. And another area that I think, because obviously, whenever we come on here, it's kind of like we are talking about a growth and self development. Because as men, we want to continue to work on ourselves. We want to continue to become better, in so that we can become the best version of who we are.
Exactly.
And and one of the areas that I believe that we have to really create uh, good habits in is, um, you remember some time ago we were talking about, you and I, we are leaders, whether you've acknowledged it, or
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 not.
kind of like, or not, but you are a leader. Why?
Yeah.
Because leadership starts by you leading yourself first, number one. Then it starts by you as a husband leading your wife and your
And your
children,
family, yeah.
and then, branch out from there, becoming a leader within in your community, and
Yeah.
within your world, within your surrounding area. So so great habits for us to think about, that is maybe a takeaway for tonight is, what kind of habits does a good leader embark in? What are as- If I'm a leader, what are good habits that I need to make sure I need to develop? Because if, number one, if I don't see myself as a leader, then obviously I won't be bothered, isn't it? It's kind of like, yeah, like everything goes. But I have to ask myself, I have to come to that realization, and no, listen, yeah, there are certain habits. If I know I'm going to lead my family effectively, in the best way possible, I need to understand what are the habits that I need to, create. Maybe a habit of open communication. It's a good habit. I don't go to bed, you know, without talking about any
You
specific situation.
just said that there.
Yes,
And
sir.
what's been going through my head is absolutely amazing.
Mm,
What's been going through my head is we have been made in the image of Christ.
mm,
Yeah, image and likeness. Check it out. When we get kids, they're in the image and likeness of us.
mm,
So they're looking at you. Your wife is drawing from you. So you start to exhibit the wrong habit. She think, man, I'm taking this back to the manufacturer. This thing malfunctioning. Yeah.
mm,
So she began to talk to her friend. He suddenly, I don't know what's wrong with him.
mm,
And whatever else, however they describe, I have no idea.
mm.
But if you're functioning, if you're practicing the right habits, you don't end up with a malfunction list. You end
Mm.
up with a very different list. You
Yeah.
get a few more kisses, you get a few more hugs.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah,
Okay.
no, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right, because you
I-
you created that habit of that's just what we do out of habit. Out of
But
habit.
I'm not
Yeah.
only talking now about the wife, I'm talking
Mhm.
now about the kid.
Even the kids. Yeah, absolutely.
Because remember now, the kid is watching you carefully,
Mm,
watching you carefully. Here, another funny part of it. You're a grown man, but your parents are alive.
Mm.
Do you know that they draw from you
Mm.
and they feed off of those positive habits?
Mhm.
It helps to make their process of living and their days
Mm.
happier. It contributes.
Mm.
So if you think that this thing only starts and stops with you, now here's the awesome part that I wanted to mention. If you check throughout the Bible,
Mm.
before Christ communicated to us, what was the habit that he did? He always spent some time speaking to himself
Mhm.
where he needed to be,
Mhm.
checking in with himself, be realistic.
Mhm.
And then when I say be realistic, realistic with what the Father has put in place. So he has put in place for him. He sets off on a time to communicate with the Father, and then he brings back that communication and he gets himself right. If you want to check it carefully, look at just before he was crucified. Yeah? And when it was time for him to potentially exercise the wrong habit, when the devil was tempting him after he come down from 40 days, 40 nights. Remember that one? He was able to exercise the right habit. Look again, even after he was risen, immediately after. And then they said, we're going to find him in Galilee, or we're going to find him here. And then it was the boat about the fishing, and was it Peter or whoever it was? My point I'm trying to bring home to you is that even the main man himself taught us via the same line, check yourself. So if you're walking around and you say somebody's smelling, just smell yourself first. Make sure it's not you smelling. Why is it coming across this way? Why am I saying it this way? Well, I'm not talking about that part from experience. I'm talking purely from the fact, the part from experience I can speak about is there are times that I am talking on the phone, whether it's one of the guys working or trying to figure out something, and something doesn't make sense. And I realize that I'm getting heated, and my son is there watching. The hardest part is when he is now playing with his toys, and that exact thing he does. He goes on, picks up something as a phone, and he's having this conversation in his baby talk. And then you're thinking, the only place he could get that from is me. What do you do at that point as a man? Do you say, this is who I am and this is what I do? And accept it or leave it? And he's got to, no. Because that child is going to exhibit times the way you exhibit it. And then you will not be able to handle it because it will first come and hit you before it hits somebody else. So there's a penalty, what I'm trying to say. Everything in life carries a price, good or bad. But there's a serious price not working on yourself for growth and practicing the right habits. It carries a very pricey penalty. Versus you work on growth, you can avoid that penalty negatively and then move forward. So I implore us all to make sure that we pursue growth, pursue the goals through applying discipline to get the right habits in order. Voice. You're muted. You are muted, Ken. There we
Awesome. There we go. There we go. All right. I wanted to do a supernatural thing there for a second. All right, Mr. Cheeto. Oh, that was awesome. So thank you so much for sharing that, Mr. Cheeto. I know that I don't know if you can hear us. I'll unmute you. I know that you are on the road. I don't know if there's anything that you wanted to. Is there anything that you wanted to add? Yeah.
Just mute. Absolutely. Absolutely, guys. Can you hear me? Absolutely,
Yes, sir.
Yes.
guys.
Go for it. Yeah,
Really,
go for it.
really tough challenge there. We we have work to do. It's just we need to
Mm,
begin. Find a way to measure it. We need to
mm,
start looking for ways to measure what the results that we are producing, because
yeah.
that's the only way we can make the best of these sessions.
Mm,
So many golden nuggets have been dropped tonight. Playing 1 month now, so it's time to go back and start running again. For example,
yeah. Yep. Mm,
I'm lagging a bit behind with my business, even though I don't have any money.
mm-hmm.
I need to wake up to that as well and start doing something. Because
Yeah.
when you think about these situations that we face in our lives,
Mm-hmm.
how many of them do you honestly know how to come out of it, but
Mm,
you're not taking actions in that
yeah.
direction.
Yeah.
I know you guys may not have, but I know many. I know a
Yeah.
lot of situations. I know that, for example, I don't have any business not having a lot of money right now.
Mm,
Yeah, but that's not the reality. That sort of thing. So it's a huge challenge, and not just for me. I'm sure we've all been challenged tonight.
mm,
It's
yeah.
now an open invitation to say, what are you going to do about it? Because don't
Yeah.
forget that whether we like it or not, even if we're not thinking of the ultimate judgment, to think about the judgment of our conscience that is actually listening to these words that have been
Mm,
spoken today.
yeah.
And because we've had it, we don't have any excuse. We cannot run away from even the aspect of self-judgment that
Mm,
we all have to face with ourselves every day, to say, you know what to do. If you didn't know, somebody actually told you. Even the
yeah.
ones you knew, somebody reminded you. What
Yeah.
did you do about it?
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And that's how it's going to continue to keep running in my mind in the next few days around
Mm,
all these topics about habits, about making sure that we're
mm-hmm.
taking responsibility, doing what we need to do, starting
Yeah.
small,
Yeah.
working from block to block,
Mm-hmm.
taking it seriously, looking at our goals and where we want to be in our life, and,
Yeah.
and, and taking that full responsibility to begin to pursue it with all seriousness, all discipline, and look at the habits that we need to get there, create them. The ones that is stopping us from getting there, we
Mm,
destroy them and put them out of the way. Use some other things.
yeah.
I listened to a talk by Zig Ziglar of blessed memory, and he was saying things about how we can only change habits by replacing them with a good one.
Mm,
you know for Lent, for example, I've been banned from using Facebook and Twitter. So what do? I promise myself, each time I have the urge to go and start watching those videos that to take my time and
mm,
help me, make me lose focus, I'm going to start looking for something to write. Think about something I've seen today that I've found some insight in, and
mm,
begin to write about it.
yeah.
That's one example of what I'm going to do, what I've chosen
Mm,
to do in
mm,
this period, just to remove that bad habit. Maybe at the end of the day, by the time we get to Easter, I will have 40 articles that have been written
mm,
because I have not spent time looking at what others have produced, but I'm
mm,
taking a step back to begin to produce things that come to me,
yeah.
understanding that I have a responsibility to produce those things. That's all I have to add. But thank you so much. I'm charged. I hope everybody else is charged.
Yes,
We
indeed.
have got to turn things around. It's time for us to have a few millionaires in this group, so that I have enough people to, go and have nice dinners and nice holidays and so on with. So,
Yes.
myself included. Thank you very
Uh,
much, guys.
Yes, yes, sir. Wow, wow, gentlemen, there you have it. We have some, we've got some work to do because we have. I think this evening we've reached a place where we actually come to realize that it's not enough just for us to come on here and just have conversation. We have to ask ourselves, all right, uh, where am I going? We need to ask ourselves some tough questions and kind of like have a plan in place. I like what Chiro was just saying now. How are we actually even going to measure
Yes.
our progress?
Yes.
Because if you anything that has progress, unless you if you can't measure it, then how are we actually going to know that we're actually moving in the right direction, number one, and whether we are growing? So let me put it this way. um, we've started off this evening by saying that our habits is the thing that will bring us where we need to, and want to be.
Yes.
I am where I am today because of my habits.
Yes.
I am who I am today because because of my habits, because of your habits. That's where you are today because of what you've been doing on a continuous basis every single day. So we have to pull ourselves back and reflect and ask ourselves, am I doing the right thing every single day, depending on where I want to I want to end up.
Yeah.
You know where you want to end up in your finances, hopefully. You know where you want to end up within your relationships, hopefully. You know where you want to end up in your business or in your career or even within your job. You know where you want to end up. So what are the habits that we are exercising on a daily basis? So I want to challenge each and every one of us this evening and to go and take some stock, to go and reflect and ask yourself those tough questions. Are you just messing about? Are you serious with what you want out of life, in terms of whatever it is? And I know what I want. Clinton know what he's after. And each and every one of us can only answer that question for ourselves. But um, yeah, it's time for action. I believe it is time for action. Actually, not just now. It has been long ago, but I think tonight is that crossroad. We have to pivot from just having conversation
To action.
to have to put some things in place and act on it. Um, so I think within the next few weeks, we most probably will come up with some kind of a way to measure what it is, and I don't know exactly how we're going to go about it, but we'll have the conversation and let's produce some results.
And in the meantime, I
yeah.
would say write your goals down
Mm,
and start with that as your measure as you work towards
mm,
it. So if one of your goals is to
yeah.
be a bit healthier, okay, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to do some walking, 15 minutes, 4 times a week.
Yeah.
So then at the end of that week, your measure is, have I done it? And do I feel different?
Yeah.
What effect does it have on me?
Yeah.
That's the start.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's the start. The idea, let's get started. Take
Yeah.
action, get
That's
started. And that's a simple structure.
And I like the fact that you just threw in health in there, because that's something that nobody's exempt from it. All of us
No.
need to be healthy.
Have to.
And it's kind of like, yes, we can just put a blanket thing out there and say, all right, gentlemen, go at least walk X amount of time um, every week. But we don't want we need you need to make that decision as an individual. We don't want to say, oh, all right, this week, that's a gentleman, from next week we're going to do every 3 days a week we're going to go. No, you need to decide for yourself, because I think when things are imposed on us, that's when we kind of like, you didn't do it from here. And I think that's where accountability comes in. Once you've made that decision, that quality decision, then who are you gonna be accountable to?
Then
You
discipline
know,
does not become a foreign word.
yeah,
It
yeah,
becomes a friend.
yeah. That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. My goodness, I think we hit something. We hit something this evening, gentlemen. I think we hit something this evening, and um, I think we just need to decide how are we going to proceed from here, because I think it's time for us to start seeing some results, and not just having conversation, but really start putting some things in place.
Love it.
Yeah,
Love it.
Uh,
but but
absolutely.
yes, sir. You look like you wanted to say something. So go for it.
You know, whether we're forced or not, um, I've seen the most successful coaches who tell you what to do, and if you don't do it, they will dump you. So we have to take that. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
telling you,
Mm,
they'll tell you this is the approach. I don't want to have a failed student. It's either you agree that I take over from here. Because if you think about it, if you leave me the way I am, what do you think I'll become?
mm,
Honestly, honestly.
mm,
And if we don't go through that training or go through that process where somebody's holding it for us until
mm,
we take over, we gain that
mm,
momentum to begin to fly, just like the eagles do. How are we
mhm,
going to ever fly? you know
True.
and if we gather here every day and we say, oh no, it's your free will, just go and do what you need to do. I mean, if it works for you guys, I'm happy for you. It doesn't work for me. You've got
Somebody need a stick.
next
Somebody.
time, this
Sorry.
is
Yes, sir.
what I'm expecting, and
Yeah.
it's got to, my
Yeah.
business name, Unchained Warrior. You know how I got that?
Mm,
I had a mastermind of 3 guys. We were setting up our businesses. We are at the stage of setting up our businesses, and I came up with one name, and I said it, and they said no, it's not the name. And I was expecting that they're going to be nice to me and give me some examples of names that I could use, since we understand what the idea is behind Unchained Warrior and so on. And they said, no, we give you 48 hours. We're meeting again in 48 hours. We want you to
mm,
have a name. I had to pick up a pen, pick up a paper, and put it to mind to say, my brain, wherever it's going to come from, you've got to produce a name that is outstanding. That's how Unchained Warrior came. I'm telling you, you are not coming back here in 48 hours and, with the same name. You have got to come up with a brand new name that is different, that is very good, and 48 hours, true to their words, 48 hours, I came up with Unchained Warrior. And when I announced the name, they said, wow, where did you come up? What sort of name?
48 hours.
Oh my goodness. And
Yeah.
this is just an example. I'm not
mhm,
saying, let's make it a military thing, but if we have our freedom, think about the alarms in the morning. If there was no alarm, if you had a chance to switch off your alarm in the morning, honestly, almost
mm,
100% of the people in the world will switch it off. That's the thing. If
mm,
they had everything that they wanted, everybody would switch off the alarm, you know. But because there is something that's pushing you, we all have to switch our alarm on. So we all need that sort of alarm in our lives. We all
mm,
need people who are going to tell us, listen, Chidozi, this is not it. You're operating at 10%. If I was you, I would be very, very ashamed of where I am right now
mm,
in my life. You need to change your game. You need
mm.
to step it up. You need to step it up. You think you do this in the next 5 years, you have zero time to achieve anything in your life. So, today is the best day to change. Change, change, change. You've had enough of this lousy version of you. There's a better
Yeah.
version that can
Yeah.
happen. And make it happen for yourself, and stop acting like you don't know what I'm talking about. You
Yeah.
know, you know what you want, you know your capability. Why don't you go for it? That sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. No, I agree with you. So that's why I believe that's why it's so important for us to have you should have mentors in your life. You should have coaches in your life that has the authority to speak to you in that way, because otherwise we will just be mediocre. We will just kind of like we'll just drag ourselves, and or not even drag ourselves. You will just look at yourself lying there, and it's like, all right, when are you gonna no? But if you have somebody that you've given permission to talk to you in a certain way, and then you listen, then you will see the difference, or you will see the difference, because uh, success is not, it's not by it doesn't happen by chance.
No.
If you have a conversation with anybody that that has reached something in life that is worth talking about, they've been coached and they have been mentored in one way or the other, and they can specifically pinpoint, if it was not for this guy,
Yes.
I would not have been where I am today. So I hope that you have somebody in your life that have the authority to speak to in whichever way, without, it's like sometimes you go home, it's like, I don't want to do this, you start cursing the guy, but you've given him the authority to speak to you in a certain way, because all of us need somebody that can do that. Yeah, that can do that for us. All right, gentlemen, so I think we've reached the top of the hour. Yes, we actually gone beyond. but it's like, this is one of those conversations that we this is not the last. This one, I think we're going to pause a little bit here, because I think we need to really get things going. It's, the idea is not to come on here every week with a new topic or with a new kind of conversation. It's like, oh, what are we talking about today? No. No, it's about results. It's about the results. So
Yes.
so we are excited about where we're going. We are
Yes.
excited about what God is doing with with us on this platform. And if you are considering coming a little bit closer, we are welcoming you. Come closer. The door is open. Drop any of us a text, and and let us know that you want to start getting involved in them, on a more committed way. So, gentlemen, thank you so much. Um, Thank you so much for showing up, and I'm looking forward to continue with this one next week. All right, have a great evening, and I will see you guys next week. All right, have a great week.
Thank
All
you.
right.
See you
Cool.
guys later.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye now. Bye.
Much, guys. Very grateful. Thank you.
Thank you,
Yeah.
sir. Bye-bye.
Bye
Bye.
bye.